It is Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, and an appalling attack on a synagogue in Crumpsall, just north of Manchester.
What should have been the most holy day of the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, has now been blighted by this horrific terrorist incident.
Just after 9:30 this morning, as people were gathering at Heaton Park Shul, someone, identity not yet confirmed, went on the rampage with a car and then apparently a knife.
The news started coming through of what was happening in Manchester, and obviously I was traumatised by what I was seeing. So I texted my team immediately and said, look, we're there as the backbone of the community. We need to stay strong, you need to find your inner self and your resilience, and you need to be out there for our clients.
The police are responding to what they're describing as a marauding terror attack, a stabbing and also a car ramming incident.
One of the first feelings straight after the attack was a sense of loneliness, if you will, not knowing where to turn. And very, very quickly, on that day itself, on Yom Kippur itself, the support began flowing in.
The Fed Community Services is completely unique. So we're qualified registered social workers with a whole range of experiences. The work we do is challenging, rewarding, it's sad, it's harrowing, but going into the victims of the Yom Kippur attack was just a whole other level.
Knowing that there was an address to turn to, knowing we could go to the Fed, and that they had both the breadth of skill and ability and knowledge to be able to step into that gap and really offer us the support that we desperately needed.
Initially, we had quite a few people phoning in of just wanting a connection with the Jewish community, and then obviously our work continued on and we offered to the victims and their families, and we were able to support 4 out of the 5 people that were, the immediate victims on the day.
Political leaders have been united in their disgust. The King has said he and the Queen were deeply shocked and saddened to learn of this horrific attack, especially on such a significant day for Britain's Jewish community.
I was outside when this terrorist actually came to launch his attack. It's something that I don't think I'll ever forget. I think it's going to stay with me for the rest of my life.
The work we did with the actual victims was, very, very bespoke, as we would normally, very tailored for the individual. So it was looking at, you're unwell, first of all, the health, hospital discharge, how we're going to make them comfortable at home. Besides that, it was, they're out of work, a couple of people, or they've been widowed. But equally, it was so important to get the mental health support, the psychological support, trauma therapy, bereavement therapy. So we were looking at a whole range of, really diverse needs. We looked at unemployment benefits, when people are off work, unable to work. We looked at charity grants. We looked at the impact on the children particularly. We looked at housing. It was very much unique to that individual.
Just in the last few minutes, from Greater Manchester Police, the 2 people killed in the attack yesterday are believed to be 53-year-old Adrian Dalby and 66-year-old Melvin Kravitz, both from Crumpsall.
It's tragic, tragic news. I'm a member of the Synagogue. I was on my way there yesterday morning when I had a phone call to tell me there had been an attack and to stay away. And sadly, this is the Intifada coming to a synagogue in Greater Manchester on the holiest day of the year.
So Adrian, my brother, he was killed in the synagogue attack in trying to stop the attacker getting through the doors. He was barricading the back door, and then he went to the front to stop anybody coming in at the front, and unfortunately he was shot dead in the synagogue. It didn't feel real. It wasn't it didn't register. I didn't just ultimately cry just like that. I just sat there and, it was hard to process. Somebody shouted in the synagogue and said, somebody's trying to get in the back. So Adrian sits right at the back. Straight away, he ran around the front and joined a few other people to barricade the front door so the person didn't get in. That's not what I thought Adrian would have done, really. He's not that kind of person. He's a quiet person, and he'd probably just sit there, but he's literally ran the whole length of the synagogue all the way through to the front, thinking, like, I need to barricade this and stop somebody getting in. But he probably didn't know the extent of what was going on at that point. I just couldn't ever imagine Adrian being a hero like that. You know, I can't say for definite if I would have done what he'd done, but he is a true hero.
I was in Israel at the time of the attack at the Heaton Park Synagogue, and you can imagine the shock when I noticed that Adrian's name was on there as one of the victims. Adrian, as an older brother, helped Simon financially, and he helped Simon with much needed childcare when Simon was working. Immediately, that financial help and that help with the children was immediately lost.
I just thought, how am I going to do everything here, cover everything on a daily basis? Because my phone was going all day, trying to, like, find out what's gone on, and it was just a whirlwind. Didn't know where to do or what to do. I didn't know how to plan it or where to go or what to do, really.
I suggested to Simon and to the family that we go and seek the support and the help of the Fed, because I knew from previous help that my family directly had received from the Fed that they were a very trusted part of the community. We wanted support from an organisation that understood our values, understood our faith, and the specific impact that this tragedy had on the Jewish community. We needed practical guidance, but we also needed compassion. And at the time, the Fed felt like the right place to turn.
We didn't know what they might need from day to day. So we arranged for some very practical things. A company that we work with donated a double mattress for one of the children. We were seeking housing for one of the families impacted that's since been rehoused. We sorted out a resettlement package for them. We sorted out Hanukkah gifts for all of the children that were impacted. Some people got something like a blue badge, parking permit. Since then, we've done quite a few charity applications. One of the children, we've managed to get some funding for therapy, for a laptop, anything that's going to kind of help them to recover and survive this ordeal.
So Katie and Zoe are social workers from the Fed, and they've come out and helped me so much, massively, on the phone, messaging, phone calls, and coming to my property as well, and saying that anything we can help with, we will help with. Financial support if you need it, we'll help you with any appliances you need. We're here on the phone, any time if you really need it. Also, the emotional support that came out, just being able to chat with somebody, changed the impact with my kids as well, because my kids can come here now and I've already got stuff in that the Fed have helped with, and without that, I would have struggled, I really would have.
I always realised that the Fed did extremely important community work, but I didn't really fully appreciate the breadth of their support. And I think specifically for someone like Simon, who's a single parent with 5 children, we were able to tap in to help from the social workers, from help, financial help, practical help for Simon with his children. So the help was immediate and compassionate.
I'm getting back on my feet, I'm doing okay now. The kids are doing good, but I was out of my depth with so much stuff, but I wouldn't have thought really they existed before. I didn't know too much about them. I didn't think in my circumstances they would have helped me, but even in the other circumstances, if I didn't have this tragedy. So I would just say people should support the Fed, because what they've done for me, I'll never forget, and I don't think my family will forget.
The Fed is the safety net of the community. It's where you go when you're in trouble. It's where you go when you need help. And it's wonderful to have that. When you most need it, the Fed is there for you.
It's ongoing work. It's going to be ongoing for a long time. This is never going to go away. It's impacted their whole life. It was dealing with that initial shock, but then being responsive thereafter whenever they needed something, that we would always be there for them and continue to be there for them.
Just enlightened me, really, because I didn't know that the Fed did that kind of complex, wonderful work to help the community out. To have an organisation like the Fed here in Manchester helping out the Jewish community it's invaluable, really.
When it mattered, we were there for these victims, and I hope they feel that, you know, we touched their lives in a positive way.
I'd love to take the opportunity to say thank you to everyone who works at the Fed, and to everyone that supports the Fed for making the Fed possible. We do say in davening, in our prayers every Shabbat morning, that all those who serve the community faithfully should be rewarded in every possible way. And I wish them all of that blessing, because that is really what it is. Devoted, expert, and deeply, deeply caring. I am full of admiration and thanks for everyone that's part of it.